Hello again. We have reached Genesis chapter 34 and the rape of Dinah. This is another quaint little biblical tale which possibly has layers of meaning hidden beneath its patent absurdities. And Dinah, the daughter of Leah, which she bare unto Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her and lay with her, and defiled her. And his soul clave unto Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the damsel, and spake kindly unto the damsel. A little odd that a man would rape a woman and immediately fall in love with her. It certainly sounds more like a consensual seduction, if anything at all. Biblically, it's very unusual to talk about a woman being defiled unless she is married. Simply grabbing a girl and raping her is an acceptable way of finding a bride in the Bible, once you've paid her father for the loss of his property. So the defiling here may have more significance. Shechem tells his father that he wants Dinah for his wife. Jacob hears of the defiling, but does nothing. He simply disappears from the story for a while, and his initially unnamed sons take center stage. They make a deal with Hamor the Hivite, or Canaanite, that should he and his tribe agree to circumcision, then the marriage is on. Hamor, and we must presume all the adult males in his tribe, appear to have no qualms about a bit of todger trauma if it helps Shechem get his girl. But immediately the mass willy-whacking has taken place. Jacob's sons Simeon and Levi, now named for the first time, descend on them and slaughter the lot. And then they took their sheep and their oxen and their asses, and that which was in the city and that which was in the field, and all their wealth, and all their little ones, and their wives took they captive, and spoiled even all that was in the house. Which seems to be a retribution commensurate with the crime. Jacob finally wakes up in the story again, and has a go at Simeon and Levi, not for tricking the tribe of Nahor, not for slaughtering all the men as they lay helpless following their todger trimming, not for destroying the city, or carrying off all the livestock, gold, women and children, but because it might have annoyed the other tribes around, who might now try to squish Jacob's little tribe out of existence. 1948, anyone? God, who had been admiring the boy's handiwork from the touchline, finally steps in to rubber stamp the slaughter, pillage and enslavement carried out by Jacob's sons by cloaking Jacob's tribe as it runs away to Bethel to raise another altar to the god El. What are we to make of such an odd story? Let's start with Shechem, not the Hivite Canaanite of the Bible story, but the location. At the end of chapter 33 we read, "And Jacob came to Shalem, a city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Paddan Aram, and pitched his tent before the city." This is yet another mistranslation in the King James, which in the Revised Standard Version reads, "And Jacob came safely to the city of Shechem." We already have an anachronism. Jacob has come to the city of Shechem, where the tribe of Hamor is located, with Shechem being the son of the eponymous tribal leader. Way back in chapter 12, we have Abram's first stop after entering Canaan being at Shechem. There God appears to him and promises him the land. The Canaanite city of Shechem is known from the Ebla tablets, which date from between 2500 BCE and the destruction of the city of Ebla around 2250 BCE. The local deity is named as Rasap or Resheph, a god of plague and war. In Habakkuk, one of the books of the Bible with which you might be less familiar, we have a psalm to Yahweh in which El, God, is mentioned. "Before him went the pestilence, and burning coals went forth at his feet." Burning coals here is translated from Resheph, which could, and possibly should, have been translated as burning arrows. In Ugaritic text, Resheph is the lord of the arrow. Apollo, Greek mythology, used his own bow, spreading disease to great effect in the Iliad. "Bent was his bow, the Grecian hearts to wound. Fierce as he moved, his silver shafts resound. Breathing revenge, a sudden night he spread, and gloomy darkness rolled about his head. The fleet in view, he twanged his deadly bow, and hissing fly the feathered fates below. On mules and dogs the infection first began, and last the vengeful arrows fixed in man. We see then how invisible arrows from the gods might be the cause of disease, pestilence, perhaps any unexplained death. If you're following my series on the First World War, you might like to reflect on the ghostly ranks of Agincourt archers inflicting death without visible wounds upon the advancing German army. 10 miles north of modern Tel Aviv on the coast is Tel Asuf. This is where the Phoenicians, or Canaanites, settled the town of Resheph around the 6th century BCE. When the Greeks became dominant in the region, Resheph was renamed Apollonius, the Greeks replacing Resheph with Apollo. Back to Shechem, and it gets several mentions in the Amarna letters. Specifically of interest to us here is Labaya. Labaya was a leader in southern Canaan during the 14th century BCE, at the time Akhenaten was pharaoh in Egypt. In the Amarna letters, Labaya is being complained about to the pharaoh by other local vassal leaders, and also defending himself against those complaints. Of instant interest is Tablet EA 252, where Labaya admits to invading Giza. Labaya was obviously not a nobody and was active over a large area of Canaan. He also defends himself against a charge of hiring mercenaries from amongst the Hapiru, or Habiru, Hebrews, blaming his son for any association with them. Usher's chronology would have the rape of Dinah set around 1700 BCE. That chronology is obviously incorrect, but if we consider the story as an etiology, a story explaining origins, then perhaps it makes more sense. Isaac Asimov hypothesized that the Hebrew tribe of Dinah was defiled by Canaanites at Shechem. The tribes of Simeon and Levi then avenged Dinah's defeat, but were themselves heavily mauled in the undertaking. Asimov supports this by the fact that the tribes of Simeon and Levi are later amongst the weakest of the tribes, with the Levites becoming priests rather than being noted as warriors. The fact that Jacob complains about the raid for fear of reprisals and beats a hasty retreat adds some credence to Asimov's hypothesis. However, it might be that alliances between the Hebrews and Canaanites, as mentioned in the Amarna letters, caused friction amongst the Hebrews, and this story is to show how certain tribes were laying low because of their dalliances. Shechem was the first capital of the Kingdom of Israel after the division of the kingdoms, and it would be easy to imagine that Israel and Judah would develop separate etiologies about its provenance. Later, Vespasian would build Neapolis, a new city near the ruins of ancient Shechem, and over time Neapolis would become modern-day Nablus. And that's it for this time. Thanks as always for watching. If you would like to support me, I now have a Patreon page open.